And I would now like to introduce our first Ignite speaker, Summer Burton. Summer joined Literacy Link South Central in 2012. With a corporate background that includes adult education and administration, Summer brings her experience in classroom and workshop facilitation, writing, editing, coaching, and mentoring to her role at Literacy Link. She has done extensive work in curriculum development, and her key foci, not sure, include adult and accelerated learning philosophies, play-based learning, gamification in education, and effective communication. In recent years, Summer has worked with both adult literacy and workforce planning organizations on developing resources, facilitating webinars and training sessions, and coordinating community programs. In her project management role, she has worked to support several projects for Literacy Link South Central, developing work plans, managing communication, and overseeing project staff. In 2021, Summer was chosen as the winner of the 17th Annual Council of the Federation Literacy Award for Ontario for her work in innovative program development and design. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Summer.
Thank you so much, Tamara. And I will just go ahead and share my screen quite quickly. All right, perfect. So with this morning's focus being on resiliency, I thought that I would prepare myself by looking at different ways that we define that word. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, which actually offers two definitions I really like, resiliency is an ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. The other definition they offer provides a really nice analogy for personal resilience, even though it's technically referring to physics. It says that resiliency is the capability of a strained body to recover its size and shape after deformation, especially that caused by compressive stress. In other words, it's the ability to bounce back even though you've been under strain and pressure. And that's something we all need to be able to do, both inside and outside of work. The word failure. It's something that makes most of us pretty uncomfortable. As Trisha just said, no one wants to be the poster child for failure, but it is the perfect place to start when we talk about resiliency. If we didn't fail at things, if life didn't throw challenges at us, we'd have no reason to know if we were resilient or not. What makes us resilient is getting back up again when we're knocked down, right? It's recognizing the embarrassment or hurt or frustration associated with that failure, and then using what we've learned to do better next time. And for resilient people, there is always a next time, another shot at success. Real failure only happens if we decide we can't do something because it didn't work the first time we tried. It's learning nothing from an experience. It's quitting. And if there's one place that we constantly fail and use what we learn to move forward instead of letting it deflate us, it's when we play games. Games and other forms of play are great ways to both learn and practice our resilience because all good games include the possibility of failure. In fact, sometimes it's practically guaranteed. While some people discount the value of play and games or think it's only for kids, it's important to recognize that there are some really cool skills people of all ages demonstrate while playing games, and that they're transferable. Now, different games and activities will challenge people to learn and practice different skills, but think about what happens when someone is playing almost any game, especially if they are really engaged and close to winning. The skills they show in that moment are incredible. Almost all games start with a challenge or a problem to be solved. It could be as simple as spelling the word worth the most points, or as complex as staging a months-long campaign against an enemy. But either way, when we play, we're faced with a challenge and we figure out the best way to overcome it. Whether a player is sitting across the table from someone or accessing a remote server with 500 other players, most games involve some level of working with other people. Hey, even non-collaborative games where the goal is to beat other people, we can't win if they won't play and stay in the game. You know, we live in a world of distractions, but you wouldn't know it looking at someone who's only a few moves away from winning their favorite game. Their level of concentration and ability to give 100% of their attention to the task at hand, that's remarkable. And if our understanding of a game and how to play it never improved, we would remain at the exact same level for eternity, which gets boring. As our skills develop, we seek out new challenges or levels to keep games interesting, which leads us to developing even more skills. In the non gaming world, we refer to that as lifelong learning. And here's where we come back to resilience again. This last one is probably the most important because gamers fail all the time. No one picks up a game and masters it on the first play. And frankly, if we did, we wouldn't be inspired to go back and play it again. Games present us with challenges. And unlike in some real life settings, we don't feel overwhelmed or too intimidated to try and overcome that challenge. Perhaps in part because if we fail in a game, there are no lasting consequences, but there can be lasting benefits. Being brave enough to try, even in the face of potential failure, is a skill that we can translate from the gaming world to the non gaming one, especially if we get used to how it feels and recognize that it's a learning opportunity instead of an endpoint. There were some really interesting wins in that last bullet, right? Opening ourselves up to the possibility of failure, being brave, recognizing that we can bounce back from a high pressure situation. For a lot of us, those resiliency skills don't come naturally. They need to be learned, built, and practiced repeatedly. And you don't necessarily get the chance to do that without another word that a lot of people aren't that fond of: risk. And no, I don't just mean the board game. I mean putting yourself out there, trying something new and unfamiliar, stretching your boundaries. One great way to do that, another form of play that everyone can take part in without going out and buying a board game or expensive gaming system, is through improv. Take a minute to think about what that word means to you. What pops into your mind? Improv is short for improvisation, and at its heart, it's a form of spontaneous ensemble theater. It's completely unscripted and often inspired by spur of the moment settings, characters, or ideas. I bet these guys were part of the picture you painted in your mind. The cast of Whose Line Is It Anyway have been entertaining people on TV and in touring productions for years. And let me tell you how resilient those folks are. I mean, you'd have to be, right? To get up in front of other people and really put yourself out there, to risk looking silly, and to blindly rely on the other members of the group to support your decisions and your actions. The interesting thing is that they're not doing it off the cuff. Improv, well, yes, unscripted, actually follows a very specific set of rules. And those rules mean that the players, the members of the ensemble, know that they can count on each other to be supportive, to add to the story, to be incredibly flexible, and ultimately do their very best to make each other look good. Just like the skills that I described game players demonstrating, there are some fascinating skills that you develop through improv. I mean, think about it. Someone doing improv needs to think quickly, listen carefully, accept change graciously, communicate clearly, honor the input of others, pick up on body language, agree with other people's ideas, help them grow, and make everyone in the group look good in the process. If you think that sounds like the type of interpersonal skills that make people valuable members of a work team, you're right. That's because improv is about so much more than acting. It's a set of life skills that are absolutely critical in today's world. Remember what we said earlier: getting up in front of others and doing something that you worry could make you look foolish is a very brave thing to do. And being brave builds confidence. Having to think quickly and generate new ideas and concepts basically out of thin air requires creativity and problem solving skills. Keep doing it, you get good at that too. Being able to accept things changing around you in unexpected ways builds resilience and gives you the ability to approach change with an open mind, seeing possibilities instead of just fear. Now, I'm not saying that it's always easy. It's a lot like deciding you're going to start to work out. When you start, It's hard. You may not be very good at it. Sometimes it even hurts. But as you go back and do it again, it gets easier. You get better. You're building your muscles, getting stronger and more skilled at whatever physical challenge you've set for yourself. In this case, we're talking about growing resiliency muscles. And it's not just me that thinks so. There is research demonstrating the connection between improv and what's referred to in psychology circles as uncertainty tolerance, the ability to maintain emotional and mental stability in the face of the unknown. That's something deeply tied to anxiety, which is another impacting issue in the workforce lately. In a recent study, several researchers demonstrated how improv promotes resilience in the face of uncertainty and change, along with overall mental and emotional well being. So, if you're a word nerd like me and are interested in reading about how they went about proving it, I've included a link to a study on your screen. So, if we want to help people develop resiliency and other valuable employability skills, we can do it by remembering how we learned about the world as children. Before we got too distracted by the next problem, the bottom line, and our to do lists, we can remember to play and encourage our employees to play too. If you offer opportunities to take risks, fail, learn, and try again in a safe and supportive environment, you'll be amazed at the skills that will develop as a result.
Thank you, Summer.